Hi, it's Steve and Caleb from Brownells, and believe it or not, we're back with another episode of Smyth Busters. And Caleb, I cannot believe you have yet more to say about the AR-15 platform. How can this be possible?
I do, Steve, but it's not because of me. This one is another viewer-requested myth.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
just to shift the blame a little bit.
hey, it's I can't do it all myself, Steve.
Okay, what does the viewer say?
Well, this one comes from a viewer by the name of James.
Okay, James, thank you very much.
Not that James behind the camera. This is another James. For those of you who don't know, our videographer is also named James.
Yeah,
But
he's taking a bow right now.
yes, not the guy behind the camera. Although technically they're both behind the camera.
James, I'm sorry about this.
You both, you guys know what we mean. You get it. I think we've been together long enough.
Back to the original James.
Anywho, yes. So the myth. So believe it or not, James. From this point forward, I'll be referring to the James.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
All right. So, anyways, believe it or not, he got some conflicting information from his fellow men in the gun community. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
The myth is that having the bolts, or storing your AR-15 with the bolt locked to the rear can or will damage your buffer spring.
Okay. This sounds like the magazine saga we did earlier.
It sounds a lot like it, Steve. Yeah. So kind of, we're both getting into springs that are made of pretty much the same material here.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah. So the bolt's locked to the rear here. And kind of the argument was, you shouldn't store springs under compression. Again, right back to the whole magazine saga here. And a lot of arguments on our side in that whole saga was, well, then you should, lift your car. You should put your car on blocks every time you drive it into your garage.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of the argument. And another part of the thing here is that spring is always under tension. You're just taking it from being under a little bit of tension to under more tension.
Right.
Because whenever it's in the gun, remember whenever you put that spring in the gun, you got to compress it to get it in the gun before that bolt ever comes back. So it's always under tension, regardless. So to just kind of give you the myth here, and then we'll talk about it even more. No, you're not going to do any damage to it by storing it in this position. Springs wear out through cycling, not through just sitting there compressed.
Right, that's what we made clear in the magazine video.
Yes, and there's more information there if you want to go check that one out as well. But so, James, you can store your gun like this. That's perfectly fine. Now, there's other things that kind of can come into play here. If you're going to store it this way, I would say don't store it with a magazine in there. Especially if you're going to be storing it in your vehicle or something like that. Simply because your bolt catch, it's easy. It's easy to slam around home like this. Just like that. You bump it, that bolt's going to go home.
Right.
So you can have it loaded, because obviously your intention is to leave it. Your intention is to not have it loaded like this, right? Obviously.
And to be able to visually verify that it's unloaded.
Right. So if you're going to have it loaded, just have it loaded. There's nothing wrong with storing the gun loaded if that's what you want to do. And if that's what you want to do, great, do it. But if you're going to have it unloaded, have it unloaded. But if you're going to have it loaded, have it loaded. That's my thoughts on it.
Hard to argue with that.
So again, there's nothing wrong with storing it loaded if that's what you want to do. But if you want to store it unloaded, might as well just leave the magazine out of it, sitting next to it. Because if you're going to store it with the bolt back, again, which is perfectly fine, all you got to do is, just grab the gun, grab the magazine, throw it in there, and you're ready to go.
Sure.
And then you're intentionally loading it.
But as a practical matter, most people are going to be more concerned with just having it in the rack, being able to see that the bolt's back, there's nothing in there.
Yeah, and coming from the old armorer days, turning in the firearm, whenever people brought the firearm to the arms room when I was an armor, they brought it back with the bolt locked open. I visually verified the bolt was opened, and we slammed the bolt home. rotated selector, pulled the trigger, handed it to me, loaded it in the rack, the whole
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
They didn't get stored that way for that reason, but I mean, it's no big deal. You can store it that way if you want to.
And if you're at a shooting range, you know you lock everything back when you're done. Make sure everybody can see that the gun's empty.
Yep. No damage done whatsoever.
Yeah. So it's a myth. It's a myth that it damages your buffer spring. Busted.
Busted.
All right. Thank you very much, James, for sending that in. If any of you else have anything you want to see us discuss, please let us know in the comments below. In the meanwhile, hit that subscribe and like button, and we'll see you next time when we bring you another episode of Smyth Busters.